Great. All right, we're recording, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Joseph Klovasicki. He is a math professor here at the University of Scranton, and Joe is interested in working on the analysis of the AM observations for the eclipse. So now, okay, so Nick Hall-Patch, as you know, is interested in leading this collection of data for the AM data, but we don't have a good plan for analyzing it, both how to and who is going to do the analysis. So I've reached out to Joe, and Joe is interested in putting in for an NSF proposal to support the analysis. And we would have him working on it. And then I also want to reach out to Jamesina Simpson and her student Apurva, who Apurva was here at the HamSci workshop, and they're doing modeling using the finite time difference method of modeling the radio waves going through the ionosphere. And that's a more appropriate method than the HF ray tracing we use with FARLAP. So it's more appropriate for AM and for VLF. So for the medium wave and the VLF observations, I don't think FARLAP works quite right. It's appropriate for HF, but not as good for those lower frequencies. So that method that they're using at the University of Utah would be an appropriate modeling method for modeling both AM, medium wave, and the VLF signals. So I'm hoping that with Joe and with, I haven't asked them yet, but I'm hoping that the people from the University of Utah might be willing to join the effort. So that is why Joe is here. So I'm hoping Nick Hall-Patch shows up at some point too, so we can introduce him. If not, we will get in touch in the future.
If I might mention, I wonder if we can collaborate with the Dartmouth side of that project.
Absolutely. I think that would just strengthen the proposal tremendously.
Right.
Nathaniel?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Ed. Nick is traveling. So I got an email from him night before last from Addis Ababa. So he's en route to Africa. So I don't think he'll be on the call today unless something
en route
happens.
to Africa. It's so exotic.
Yeah, I think he comes back in early May, if I remember. Does that sound familiar, Ed?
Yeah, he's visiting family. Yep.
Okay.
It's gonna be a few weeks.
So I guess Gary, maybe you just want to introduce the different people on the call to Joe, and then we can go on with your agenda.
Sure. I guess I'll start with myself. Joe, nice to meet you. My name's Gary McKeaton. I'm a longtime ham radio operator and retired engineer. I've been following HamSci and trying to participate with HamSci since about 2019, and took on a little bit bigger this role this year, trying to be Nathaniel's one of his right-hand people to keep this whole thing moving. So it's been a tremendous amount of fun. You want to just go around the group? Rob, start with yourself. We'll just go around the block real quick.
I'm the only Rob, I guess.
Sure.
Okay, AI6VN. Nathaniel, I think, reached out to me when I was first getting involved in radio, when I manage the Kiwi receivers and Whisper reception systems at KPH. And Nathaniel reached out, I think prior to the previous Eclipse event. I don't think we contributed anything meaningful, or it's not to that, but I've become increasingly interested. I've developed a software package called Whisper Daemon. You can read about it at whisperdemon.org, which is allows a site to be kind of completely automated whisper reception. It's targeted at sites. Most of the top 50 reporting sites, whisper reporting sites in the world, are running my software. It's an open source Linux package on GitHub, and runs on a Linux host and communicates with one or more Kiwi SDRs. We are so it has many extensions and unique capabilities. It extends it beyond the regular Whisper and FSTW reporting. So that's my area of interest, is putting that together as a receive site, and we're using it to report parameters about the Whisper transmissions that I think have started to gain new insights into propagation, at least in terms of the ham world. So anyway, I run a three receive sites, one in Maui and two here on the West Coast, and I run this software thing. And we're very interested in contributing to the. In fact, my group, Whisper Daemon Group, is I think at least half a dozen of us are planning to go out and deploy Whisper or transmit and receive sites along the path of totality in October. So Oregon, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, San Jose, Costa Rica, and Panama are recent additions to this list of sites, and they will be transmitting and receiving on all bands simultaneously, 80 through 10. So there'll be quite a bit of data, including millihertz resolution Doppler shift data that will come from the Whisper report. So you'll get a lot more out of the database that we're going to be creating than you will get from the regular Whisper reports, which only kind of include the metadata of, oh, we heard him, and here's his SNR. So anyway, I have more to talk about that later, but
this is whisperdemon.org, you said?
Yes, whisperdemon.org.
I typed it in, maybe I'm misspelling it, but it doesn't seem to be loading.
WSPR.
WSPR, okay, that'll do it.
I'm sorry. Yes, WSPR.
Is it DAE?
Is that a question for me?
Got it.
Yeah,
It's DAE.
whispered.
Yep.
WSPR DAEMON.
Yeah.
As Nathaniel just put in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. It's a tremendous amount of data we'll be able to use for the next two eclipses and stuff. Thanks, Rob. Ed, you're up next.
Oh, hi there. I'm Ed Afchak, WX2R. I'm an amateur radio operator, and I'm an old retired media guy, so I'm helping with publicity here. And I'm also on the ARL Public Relations Committee, so hopefully being a good liaison between what we're doing and what the PR committee is doing over there. So that's my story, and I'll stick with it. So back to you.
That's good. Ed, thank you very much. Ron, you're up next.
Hi, Joseph. My name is Ron. I am an RN, a nurse case manager. I am, I think, the true essence of a citizen science person. I got into this. I was a little bit interested in ham radio propagation. I've been in ham radio for quite a few years. I got interested in the science, discovered this group, and I am having an absolutely fascinating journey of learning, and I've met some great people in this group, and a tremendous amount of support and patience as I learn a whole new field. I've been doing a lot of studying in it, and I have tried to bring my talents. I have done a lot of public speaking and writing in my field, and I've tried to bring those talents because it's really about the only thing I can bring. I'm not into computers or physics, although I've read a lot. There are people in this group that have graciously really helped me, given me opportunities to do some writing and public speaking. And I've been learning how to do it with more of a science bent to it. So that's my role and the reason that I am with this group, probably the most non-scientist in the group.
That's good, Ron. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's head up to Michigan. Jay, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, howdy everybody. Jay Schwartz here outside a few miles north of Detroit. By way of background, I am a thoroughly happily retired automotive software engineer who for my career, I did embedded software in the automotive industry, mission critical, safety critical stuff. In other words, I make a mistake, you go home in a body bag type stuff. And I'm still active in cybersecurity in the Society of Automotive Engineers. Been a ham since 1974. And I'm here and have been here for a couple years now, is I'm interested in learning about this stuff and doing, basically that's the number one reason I joined, was to learn about it. And then as soon as some of the WWV systems for monitoring WWV become available, I'm looking to get one and install it here at my home QTH. Otherwise, enjoying ham radio as I have since 1974, and all the people that I've been privileged to meet and be a part of and be associated with. So this group is really, really cool. I'm really enjoying myself here. Otherwise, that's about summarizes it back to me, for me. Back to net control.
All right, thanks, Jay. And yeah, Joe, you'll find out a lot of people, once they get involved with the amateur radio hobby, they literally stick it out for decades and decades and decades. So you're seeing that here. But we'll slide over a little bit different. One of our newer members over in Virginia, Mackenzie, like to say a few words.
Hi, Joseph. My name is Mackenzie Denton. I'm a freshman at Old Dominion University in Virginia. I'm fairly new to HamSci, but I'm very interested in the mission here. This go around, I'm helping with the PR aspect of HamSci, but next go around, I really want to help with the science part of it any way I can. But that's pretty much it. And my call sign is KO4GLN. Nice to meet you.
Great, thanks, Mackenzie. Next up is Bob, AC8ZU.
Yeah, I'm recently retired. I've been a ham operator for a few years. My background is in software engineering, but I've been doing mostly management. So getting back a little bit into software and machine learning. I did participate with Christina with the Eclipse in 2017 as a monitoring station, and kind of listening and see where I could contribute.
Good, thank you. Over to New Jersey, Dr. West.
Hi there. So I've done several things with this group. I am Nathaniel's original physics teacher in college and taught him everything he knew at any rate. And and then he and I went to the 2017 Eclipse together. We had a group in Kentucky, had a great time taking data of all sorts right there. And now, so my main thing is a data analyst. So as a physicist, I like to look at reams of data and figure out what they mean, mostly looking at the ham spot data at this point.
Good, thanks much. And while we're talking to people from universities, Dave McGaw, why don't you go ahead?
Hi, David McGaw, and 1HAC, research engineer at Dartmouth College. I also am doing some work with Hyomin Kim at NJIT. We have a long history of auroral and ionosphere research, and flew rockets into it, flown balloons to pick up X-rays from the radiation belts, and then currently have a system. We're actually expanding a system of receivers that have been monitoring AM radio stations for their Doppler shifts and watching the ionospheric disturbances through that. So that should very well nicely dovetail with the other receivers that will be in the AM band. And also been a ham for quite some time, and I assume that we're going to get you your license. So back to net.
All right, thanks, David. And I think the last couple of speakers show we've got such a breadth of people who are essentially rookies in a lot of respect, myself included. And we've got a lot of very experienced research personnel too, so it makes for a very nice mix. Gary Hogston, why don't you go ahead next, Gary?
Okay, this is my third telecom. I'm a ham operator, extra rated, and I'm a retired law enforcement officer. I was brought up in Tampa, Florida, and I used to go over as a kid and spend half my life over at Kennedy Space Center. And I've always been an enthusiast of everything to do with radios. Worked with them all throughout my career. And so I was here in Kentucky for the 2017 Eclipse. And when I was going through some of the ham sites, I found out about HamSci, and I wanted to join up and see how I can help, what I can do. So that's about what I've got for now.
That's good. Thank you. Let's see, one more, two more. Dustin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Sure thing. Dustin Reyes, KD2 LOF. I've been a ham since 2016. I participated in 2 of the most recent Eclipse festivals, just gathering data for, based on, what I was able to see at WWV in my urban QTH. So this is, I think, only my second Telecon, but I wasn't even really able to hang out much for the first one. So really kind of my first one. But yeah, interested in hearing kind of more what I can do with my urban location that doesn't really allow for as much ham operating as I would like. And yeah, and how things are kind of being planned out for the upcoming Eclipse festivals. So happy to see and hear from everybody. And as a citizen scientist, I just also spend time with NASA's Exoplanet Watch. So that keeps me busy from a hobby standpoint too. Yeah.
Nice, great. Thank you very much. And last but not least, from shipboard somewhere in the eastern part of Asia, John, how's your connection today?
It's really amazingly good. It's about I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning over here. We're going into the port of Fukuoka, and this is the first time in Japan. It's a wonderful experience, and I'm just here to chase eclipses and try to collect data that can be useful to the group. So back to net.
All right, great. Thank you. I think that covers everyone. I don't think I missed anyone. Hopefully not. So we're good to go. All right. Anything else that anybody'd like to add to the agenda? Otherwise, I'll flip over and share my screen and we'll start talking about the hamvention.
I do have one thing I'd like to add.
Sure.
I have now posted, hold on 1 second here. Yep. I have now posted to Zenodo all of my eclipse calculations for the 2 upcoming eclipses. So these are just the obscuration values for the entire globe. They're at a 5-minute cadence on a 0.2 by 0.2 degree latitude longitude grid. And they are at every altitude in 50 kilometer steps from the ground up to 450 kilometers. And so all of that is there. I can put this in the chat. So you can, where's the chat? Chat there. So all the numbers are pre-calculated. There are plots for every frame. I included a couple of movies. You look at these MP4s here. You can download those. I have MP4s already created for 300 kilometers altitude. And so I've just sent this off to Joe Huba today, and I don't know if this is in the right format. I know it's not exactly the format he asked for doing the SAMI3 predictions, but I'm going to work with him on making sure this gets into the format he needs for doing the SAMI3 ionospheric predictions. And the goal is to have predicted ionospheres well before the NSF CDAR workshop, so that we can have Rachel Bodeker do some predictions for her CDAR poster. But at the same time, we have plans to release those outputs, those predictions to the community, so that anyone who wants to work with those observations or those outputs can do so. So this is the first thing that's available to everybody.
that's pretty slick. I know we've talked about creating some PowerPoints and stuff to promote what we're doing, and those kind of MP4s. I know I've seen you put them up in the past, and I think that to really bring it home to the people watching, because we all understand what's going to happen on the ground pretty well, but to have these plots that are at varying altitudes really should drive home the point that RF is well above our heads. So that's pretty cool. Okay.
And for, I should say, for Dustin, who's on here, who's in Manhattan, I guess, or New York City, who's like, how can I participate? You know, you are, one thing that you might be interested in doing is more of a data analysis sort of thing. So all the tools that I use to make those maps, it's all open source Python. So a lot of the data analysis tools that we use, you know, you could work on your own. So that is a thought.
Definitely. Thank you for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything else? We'll jump into talking about Hamvention, I think.
That sounds good.
All right. Let me see what I can do here. So a couple of things. I know a week or so ago, Nathaniel, on one of the calls, you mentioned that we've got almost 800 members now in the HamSci Google group. And I took a look at the HamSci Eclipse Google group, and we've got over 500 members there as well. And almost 200 have joined since we kind of reactivated that back in February. And looking at the date joined, about 2/3 of those are probably due to the NASA Citizen Science posting, which is then picked up by a couple of other sites and people. But it just goes to show when you get a good coverage about what we're doing, it does drive people back to our site, and we get people are interested and they want to know more. So, all right. So what I really wanted to talk about was the Xenia Hamvention, just because we've got a fair amount of preparation to do for in the next, I guess 6 weeks or so before that happens in May. The Xenia or Dayton Hamvention is the largest gathering of ham radio operators in the world. Typically in recent years, about 30,000 attendees over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's really a good chance for us at HamSci to kind of get our message out, and also to get people interested in what we're doing and have them join up with us for various reasons. So I just wanted to make it clear, is we're going to have a booth there, and we'll have various members of HamSci there staffing the booth on and off during the long weekend. And I think I always want to make sure I understand it, and I think we're clear on it, is really the goal of the booth and some of the talks and other things we'll be doing is to recruit members and also recruit participants for the solar eclipse events. And I want to say add talent to HamSci, because as you said, Nathaniel, it's not only about radio or talking on the radio or generating or receiving radio signals, but there's the analysis piece of it too. And there are definitely people out there that can help us with the analysis part of the whole thing. Another thing I thought of, as we go and talk to people at the convention, talk is great, and the personal relationships formed are important, but a lot of the people will go away from the Ham Fest, and if they don't have anything in their hand or something concrete to look at or work with, they may kind of forget what's going on, and we don't want them to do that. So one of the things we want to do is do the best possible job of getting the HamSci website ready for Xenia. And one of the things I think as you, Nathaniel, mentioned a few weeks ago, that the organization of the website, it's kind of grown over the years, and it's been a little bit of piecemeal. And to kind of re-architect that and sit down and redo some of that would probably be a tremendous amount of work. But one of the things I thought about is we don't really have any search functionality in the website. And I don't know if that was intentional or just something that hasn't been added yet.
Yeah, it's certainly not intentional. It really hasn't been added. So I'm thinking about how we might add it, and that's probably, I don't know if that's trivial or not.
Okay.
So under the hood, oh, you got something working?
Yeah, this is the test site.
Great.
And it seems to work.
Wonderful. Mm.
And it does all the typical logical associations. I think there's an or.
So yeah, if it works, turn it on.
Yes. Okay, that's all I needed to hear. That's
Great.
what we'll do.
I like
Get it
it.
working on the,
And I just-
production site.
Great. I just updated the main site too. So now the Eclipse banner is the first thing that pops up instead of the Hamsci workshop banner. So
Good, okay. And I know you upgraded the back end of Drupal 7 as well too, because every once in a while there's that search is a little bit buggy, and I'm hoping that the upgrades you did in the past couple of weeks have fixed that. So we'll find out.
yeah, I wouldn't count on
Okay.
that.
So one of the things I'd like to see too is that our hamsci.org Eclipse site has been fairly static for the past month or two. And we've got, our Solar Eclipse QSO party and the Gladstone Challenge, basically the contesting type and the Whisper SST4 stuff is up there. But I want to be able to get the rest of our events up there. I know as we work on this AM Doppler thing, I saw Jonathan posted about a potential VHF events or VLF events, excuse me. And all that stuff needs to be, I think if this is going to be our landing page, needs to be linked in here. So that's one of my goals in the next couple of weeks before the Hamvention. And one of the things that I know Steve's not here today, but just so everybody's aware, Steve Server and I have been working with, again, this is just a test site, but is getting some documentation in place for his time of flight and time delay of arrival studies. I need to fix some of this stuff in yellow for Steve's input. But again, I think as we talk to people at Xenia and we give presentations and stuff, we can drive people back to the website and say, we're looking for people to do X, Y, and Z. If we've got that kind of concrete, laid out what we want people to do, how to do it, the general methodology and that sort of thing, I think that'll help. So we just don't leave people hanging after we talk to them. So just be aware that Steve and I are working on this, and I'll keep plugging away at it.
That's great.
Hey, Gary,
You
you
one of
might,
the nice features on the site. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I was just going to say you might want to, I noticed you had a couple icons. You might want to maybe include like the K3 or K4 or the Flex, because they have an outstanding ability in that area. Just a quick thought.
Oh, okay. On the rigs. Yes. Okay. Let me make a note of that. Sure.
Yeah, because all I saw was just a couple icons on there.
Yeah, the reason those were there because those are the ones I've heard people talking about, and they have the ability to do the GPS stabilized frequency control. And you're right. I know the K4 probably can do that, but I got to look into the K3. That's where I was
I
coming
think the
from. I'll
Flex
check with
can
Steve
as
on that.
well.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
K3
the
can.
Flex.
I know K3 can do it. I stabilize mine regularly, and I have used it in some of the early space weather tests before I got the Grape 1.
Okay, that helps, Jim. Thanks. I'll add the K3, the K4, and the Flex, because the Flex architecture, they're all very similar. So probably all the current models.
I imagine so.
Okay. The Grape 1 page is pretty nice. This is a really nice video that Bob Inderbitson put together for us. And with all the
I've
info
got
on
a
the
quick
Grape
question on the
1.12.
graphic that you have there. Why does it say Grape 2 on it? That's confusing people.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that was a leak.
I think that's why people are asking about the Grape version 2 when they really want 1.12.
We could ask Bob Inderbitson if he might be able to adjust it to say Grape version 1.12.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Good
Thought I'd
catch,
point
David.
that out.
No, that helps a lot. One of the issues we've got, though, it sounds like we're going to have trouble getting our mixer IC again. That's nothing we can solve here, but
We probably should put on a list of crosses because there's so many other, you can use a 602 and a 612, different manufacturers. Primary thing is the package you want to make sure, but
Okay, I'll ask John about that because
Yeah.
right now, I guess even I saw the post somebody put out there, even Arrow, they no longer have any source of supply, so that's gonna be a real stymie for everybody. So the thing I really wanted to get right is our Hamvention 2022 and moving into the Hamvention 2023 pages. Let's look at 2022. Close some of these up.
One comment on the grape page. I feel like, this is probably more of a comment for the morning telecon, but I think the grape one page really needs to be cleaned up a bit because it looks nice and shiny up at the top, but then it says the previous version of the documentation is archived below, and then it's just like a hodgepodge of all sorts of stuff. And I feel like that can get very confusing. So I think this page needs to be reevaluated. And then the whole drag and dropping the data files there, we're trying to get people to use the automated upload service. So I think a lot of the stuff on here isn't really either valid or there's a broken link at the bottom, broken image.
I kind of agree with you. It looks like, yeah, it's kind of got the bare minimum, but if you were a first-time user coming to this page, you'd have a hard time finding your way around. So I'll ask Rachel to make sure it's on the agenda for next week.
Yeah.
That's
So
420.
I don't know if we want to find, it's probably a good idea to identify someone in the grape group to take some responsibility to clean this up.
No, point well taken. Point well taken. Okay, looking back at 2022, I mean, obviously I'm mostly just, you'll see the new page, but I'm really just copying the format and whatnot. I want to make sure of everything I put out there is of course correct. And we're still good on all of our 5 sponsors here. Nathaniel, these should be all still up to date.
Yep, that looks good to me. I guess we could probably, yeah, that looks great.
Okay. The other thing I wasn't familiar with is, do we know if our booth location is going to be the same? Are we still next to Tapper and Yasmi? Are we, has anybody heard any of that?
Yes, the booth location is still the same.
Okay, I'll copy that over.
You might want to put in a 2 in there in building 5 next to Tapper.
Right. We'll fix, okay. The other thing I wasn't familiar with is this ham radio 2.0 area. I mean, I was familiar with what Ward has talked about going back to 2019 at the workshop, but is that still an active current thing? I couldn't find anything on the Hamvention website.
It should be. So it's basically the area right around booth 4303. See where it says booth talks? Under booth talks include both ham sci and ham radio 2.0 talks. And will take place at booth 4303 in the Volta building. Right. So that area is called the ham radio 2.0 area. So the idea is ham radio 2.0. So we share this space with Youth on the Air and some of the other like projects that Ward Silver is promoting. And for the booth talks, as you can see, half of the time slots are dedicated to ham sci, and half of the time slots are scheduled by ham radio 2.0, which is really Neil Rapp is handling that scheduling.
Okay, good, because that was my next question. I wasn't familiar. I didn't have any of this on the new page because I wasn't familiar with where it was coming from. I did see we got an email from Neil today, so.
Yeah, so we'll be able to answer. I think we'll be able to answer Neil's email before the end of this telecon.
Okay, so there will be so the ham radio 2.0 still exists. We are going to have booth talks.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I'll make preparation for that. And this stuff's easy. Okay, that part's easy. So let's see if there's any questions on the new page here. No, I just got our presentations. The other thing, have you worked on your titles? I've got some working titles for a couple of your talks, Nathaniel. They're fine as they are for now. When you get them, we can obviously edit this, but the
Yeah,
innovation forum and the
no, I
TAP
haven't,
report.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay. All right. That's fine. It's good as it is.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll leave that page go then. I'll clean that up. Let's see.
For the,
So we know what
for
has
the
to be
new
copied
page,
over.
for the new page there. Where it says Hamside booth 2022. I know that's a picture of the 2022 booth, but maybe just, I don't know, it's having the 2022 up there kind of confuses me because I think that makes me think this page is a year out of date or something.
Okay. That's fine. I can remove that easily enough. That's no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing that's important is, whoops, not that one. Our team pages for the people who are going to be going there.
Yes.
So I've got a new page. I've copied a lot of this stuff over. Let's see. Is this exhibitor badges section correct? I didn't copy this yet.
Yes, if we make a list. I think if you get me a list of, if we get a list of people, I can probably get them exhibitor badges.
Okay. I'll send it back to me. You got enough to do. I'll collect the names and send you the list a couple of weeks before the Hamfest. So
Great.
we'll still do the group photo, I assume. That shouldn't change.
Yeah, except we may have to change the time because I think that time is during the innovation forum. So I don't think I can make that time anymore.
Okay. It's easy to do. Okay, I'll look back at that schedule.
Yeah. Try to pick a time that is that looks like it might not conflict with things.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Friday at well, let's see, Friday at noon is the innovation. Okay. All right, we'll figure that one out. Let's see.
Anybody know if the AMSAT Tapper banquet's going to be held at the same place it was last year, the Presidential Conference Center?
I don't know for sure, but my guess is probably.
Okay. Looking forward to it as usual.
Me too.
Okay, for our team page, here it's not so bad having the 2022 picture, I don't think. At least it's a little bit
Right.
minimum. At least people can
Oh,
see
yeah.
what it's like.
I guess
Yeah,
I
okay.
like the way it's done here a little better where it just puts 2022 in small print. So I think having the picture is fine on the other page. I just didn't like having 2022 in big letters above the picture.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see, the overview, the booth volunteering thing is pretty much copied over. I did get the need to meet thing set up.
Great.
And Bill Lyles contacted me last weekend, and I used Ed as one of my guinea pigs too to get people scheduled. So that seems to be working.
Great.
It works.
And what
Yeah.
I'll do is I'll put out a note on the Hamsai reflector tomorrow that people can start signing up for booth spots.
Wonderful.
So that's done. Let's see. Oops, lost my page. Lab coats, exhibitor badge, yeah, that's there. Group photo, I gotta adjust the time. And I wasn't gonna duplicate all the presentation and booth talks here since we've got them, they're already on the 2023 page. It just seemed like double work to have everything duplicated, so. Got a link back to all the presentations.
Yeah, it's best to have all the presentations probably on a single page rather
Right.
than having them 2 different places where you have to update everything twice.
Right, right. Okay, good. Moving that to, so we, demonstrations, we talked about that, updated times and talks. So one of the things, more of a reminder before, as time gets a little bit closer. I mean, I was thinking about things that would help, facilitate some of these discussions with people to get people enthused about not only, the solar eclipse QSO party and some of the things that are, I guess I'd say, a little easier to enter, but recruiting people for the TDOA event, that sort of thing that are a little more technical on hand. I think it's going to be helpful to have some like large eclipse maps, so people can see where if they don't already know, they can see where the eclipses are at. Maybe a grape site map, because we've got some tentative sites for that. The WWV, WADDU, the ionospheric reflection graphics, some of this stuff, if we have poster size, I guess I would call them, in the booth, I think it would make it a lot easier to talk to people as opposed to just hand waving and using words. And then people got to pull their phones out, they can take a picture and stuff too.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. So if someone can prepare the PowerPoint posters the way we did for the Hamside workshop, I can certainly get them printed here and bring them with me.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take care of that because I know exactly what I want. So it's the Great American Eclipse folks are pretty good with their public use license as long as we credit them. And those are some really nice. Nice.
And now you also have the ones on the Zenodo site that I did too.
Right. Yep. So we got a couple of options. Okay, that's easy to do.
Yeah, and we can also get you set up. Maybe on a future telecon, I can do a tutorial with people to show them again how to use Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Lab, and try to get people set up so they can actually create their own, run the Eclipse mapping software themselves.
Okay.
Or we can set up a binder to do that maybe.
Yeah, that works really well. I've been doing a lot of Christine stuff that way. That's pretty effective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be that would be a good thing to do. Actually, Mackenzie, have you played with binders in Jupyter Lab before?
No, I haven't. Sorry, I couldn't find the button. No, I have not.
Okay. That might actually be a fun thing for you to try. Like, I could send you the code that I use to generate some of the maps and see if you can get it up and running on your computer and see if you can understand it. And then once you get through that, if you wanted to try putting onto a binder, which is a website where pretty much anyone just goes and clicks on it and then they can run the code. That would be a good way to make that code available to a lot of people. And then you'd also get some experience doing some of the data analysis and the visualization.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, we can work on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover about Dayton. So does anybody else have any input, comments, questions about the Hamvention or anything else?
Yeah, let me respond to Neil's email really quickly here. And I have to go right at 5 today because we have a W3USR club meeting today. Okay, so Neil wrote so as I said, Neil Rapp is going to schedule the booth talks for everything, all the time slots that say Ham Radio 2.0. Neil is responsible for getting people to talk in those slots. So I can tell Neil to just send you the titles or the things. So I'll say Hi, Neil. No, hi, Neil. I have the TV and will bring it. It's sitting right there. So I'm gonna bring a TV that's gonna be used for the booth talks. George is bringing the sound equipment from Tapper. And then I think Neil had sent me another email here. Where he was saying, Gary is managing the list of talks on the website. He will send you the link. You can just tell him the info you want for each HR 2.0 talk, and we will add it in for you. Sound good?
Yep.
Great. So. Okay, back over to you.
Okay, good, good. All right. Yeah, I've got to run right at 5 too, because I've got an appointment later this evening as well. Is anything else, any questions or comments anybody else have?
Yes.
Sure, Gary, go ahead.
Last night during the 5:30 news, WLAX 18 out of Lexington, NBC affiliate, ran a short segment on the upcoming eclipse for 2024. And they talked about how Kentucky was in the path of totality last time and how it's going to be in it again. And they had a NBC station do a canned interview with someone down at Paducah, a hotel owner, basically saying that the B&Bs are all sold out already for Paducah. And I was thinking that it would be a good idea to have a press release and with information on somebody that they can contact to do a remote interview with, like over Zoom or something like that. A little bit about HamSci and what it's about, because all they talked about was hotel space and showed some canned pictures from the 2017 eclipse. And where my QTH here is supposed to get, last count was 94.9% of darkness or totality, and Lexington's going to get a little bit less. But I was thinking of a press release that could be sent out to the stations or available for download on this website that news stations can get to, and like I said, they can blast out the word, because they already started putting it out. That's what I was thinking about.
Well, in the great minds think alike category, I know Ed's been working on kind of a pitch letter just to do exactly that for us, I think. Right, Ed? Oh, still muted.
Yes, yes, and
There
we're
you go.
putting together a media list as well too, so. With speakers, so that's good.
Yes, so that's great. No, it's nice. We're all thinking in the same direction, so it's good input. Thank you. Okay, anything else?
Speaking of speakers, I think I owe you an email about someone who knows something about Tropo DX.
Yeah, that's for our club. Yeah, we're looking to put something together for June or July.
Yeah, I don't personally know a Tropo DX person. You could certainly, yeah, I'm not sure. You could ask on the HamSci website. Is there anyone there?
Yeah, I'll put up an inquiry. Yeah, we've got a little time on it, so actually, particularly if we move it to July. So, but a lot of members have inquired about it.
Okay, anything else from the group? Okay,
Joe,
we'll call it a wrap then. 3 minutes early, pretty good.
Joe, do you have any questions?
Nothing at this point. Thanks for the introductions. Really nice variety of backgrounds to hear from. So thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary.
Okay, everyone. Yeah, thanks for everyone's input and participation as always, though, and we'll do it again next week.
All right.
73, everybody.
week,
See you
everyone.
Monday night
73.
on the weekly ham sty call. Take care.
Yeah, green call, true, Monday
See you
night, yep.
next, see you next week.
73.
So long.